Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to discover inner happiness, then do we have the 10-second shortcuts to awareness show for you. Today I'll be talking with psychotherapist, relationship expert, and best-selling author Jonathan Robinson, the author of over 12 books, including The Experience of God, Find Happiness Now, and The Idiot's Guide to Awakening Your Spirituality, and a fantastic new podcast for diving into awareness, Awareness Explorers. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about easy awakening shortcuts and diving into pure awareness, what it is, what it looks like, and how it can transform our lives. That, plus we'll talk about the Dynamite Dozen, traveling to India, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the world's largest pencil eraser, and what in the world baby aliens have to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, Jonathan. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready.
Woohoo! You know, I can't believe I'm going there for a first question, but after I wrote this out, I rewrote it and said, yeah, you got to start with it. What does sex, drugs, and rock and roll have to do with anything?
Well, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is really a method to get to peace. If you have enough intensity,
Yeah.
you have enough things going on, you feel good. The problem with sex, drugs, and rock and roll is sometimes it's hard to get them all set up. And in the case of dangerous drugs, they can destroy your life. So I'm always looking for the easiest ways to have that experience of ecstasy, that experience that we really yearn for, that doesn't require so much setup.
So, and on that note, talking about setup, since I've been setting you up at the beginning here, did you grow up with this mindset? Did you have any spiritual background as an early child?
No, I had something even more useful. I had a miserable childhood. So it was miserable enough that at age 11, I decided to get into self-help.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did was I got into self-hypnosis. So by age 12, I'm doing self-hypnosis every day. I'm doing meditation every day.
Let me pause you. How did an 11-year, did you like stroll to the library? Because you're my generation or so. There was no internet back then. Would you stroll in and go, give me what you got on self-help and hypnosis?
I went to the local cave because we were cavemen back there, and they had libraries. I basically did that. I went to the library and got books on it and learned through books because that was what was available.
At 11, what gave you the insight that said there are some methodologies that can help me?
Well, I had an uncle who was a hypnotist, and he would do these
Aha.
shows where he would like turn my sister, who was a very quiet person, into Mick Jagger in like 5 minutes. And she'd act like and sing like Mick Jagger. And I said, wow, I'd like to be somebody else other than me because I'm depressed, I'm shy. Maybe I can learn hypnosis and really make some changes quickly. So that was a great gift.
So you fast forward from then. What did high school look like in and beyond? Because you started on this path, I'll put that in quotes, so early.
Well, it got better and better. I had this great fear of rejection and fear of other people's disapproval.
Yeah.
And my life changed rather dramatically in 1 hour. What ended up happening was in college, I'd never asked a woman out on a date yet. So a friend of mine said, hey, you got to face this fear. And he basically said, I'll treat you to a trip to Hawaii if you get rejected by 10 women today.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. Thinking the way out of the fear was to face it head on.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go to Hawaii. So I go to the university bookstore to get rejected by 10 women. But, I was terrified. I had beads of sweat dripping down my face. I'm shaking. I go up to the first woman. I go, hello, like this. And she turns around and she says, are you all right? Do you need an ambulance?
Oh, no.
And I said, no, don't call an ambulance. And I asked her out and she said, well, thank you, but I have a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first rejection.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you face your fears, it gets easier. So the second woman was easier. The third woman was easier. And soon I'm starting to feel good that I'm breaking through this fear. But the seventh woman ruined it. by now I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed. And I say, hey, would you like to go out sometime? And she says, sure. It was at that moment I realized
Woohoo!
I had no script for sure. So I said, sure what? And she said, yeah, I'd like to go out with you. And I go, really? And she writes down her number. And long story short, I got 8 straight dates because
Wow.
when you're yourself, when you're relaxed, life goes better.
Mhm.
I actually had to start acting like a jerk to get the 3 final rejections, you know. But when I let go of this fear of disapproval or this fear of failure, my life opened up very quickly in just that half an hour.
Any second dates?
Well, my love life was set for my freshman year, so it was good. People sometimes ask me, how did I get to interview Mother Teresa or Dalai Lama or Deepak Chopra or all these people? And I say, well, when I was in college, I took a half an hour to get over my fear of rejection, and that paved the way for meeting all kinds of people.
Wow. So let's fast forward, although I can hear my audience saying they've got to ask me, did you get to Hawaii?
Yes, yes, it was a great trip.
Excellent. All right. Fast forwarding from that great trip to another interesting trip. Who is Punjabi Ajaji and how did you meet him?
Well, they pronounce it Punjaji.
Mhm.
And he's a famous guru in India. He's gone now, but everybody was telling me you got to meet Punjaji. So he taught me a really valuable lesson, Michael. I go there and walk into his ashram. There's like 50 people in the room, and he's up front, and he points to me. He says, "You sit in front of me." So I'm a little nervous,
Mhm.
and I sit in front of him, and he looks at me really carefully. He goes, "Who are you?" Well, I didn't know the protocol here, so I didn't really know what to say. So I said, I'm Jonathan Robinson from the United States. And he and the 50 people in the room just started cracking up. They thought that was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. I didn't know why. And finally, they stopped laughing. And he said, no, who are you really? And I say, well, I'm a soul. And he kind of goes, nah. I'm a writer. I'm a man. I go through like 10 answers and he's not happy with any of them.
Yeah.
Finally, I ran out of answers. So I just looked in his eyes and his eyes were shining like there was light coming out of them. I go, wow, that's interesting. I look in his eyes and suddenly I'm hit with what could be called a wave of love that was so powerful that I started sobbing. I'd never felt love so powerful before. And as I'm like sobbing in his lap, he says, this love and this awareness is who you are. And your job in life is to never forget that. So I've tried to take that on as all of us, our job in life is to remember at our core, we're love and peace.
Mm.
And life is full of distractions, but our job is to never forget that.
Beautiful. So then, is that what is, or how do you define pure awareness?
Well, pure awareness is, I've interviewed like 60 spiritual leaders now. And I always ask them, what's the most important thing people need to know to find peace?
Mm.
And all of them say the key to peace, the key to even a spiritual connection is to know yourself as pure awareness. So then the question is, what is pure awareness?
Mhm.
Well, if I asked you, Michael, are you aware now? You would say what?
If I say aware, well, there's the me who's watching the me that's watching the you and watching this interview. and that's why I sometimes trip myself up and become a plural.
Right, right, right. But you're aware now because you're having a certain experience.
Yes.
Awareness allows us to register our experience, or register our senses, our sight, our sound, our taste. We have something that is like recording all this that lets us experience this.
Hmm.
But on top of that, we have like our ego, we have our thoughts, we have our emotions,
Hmm.
and those keep us from the peace of just being awareness.
Yes.
So, one of the things that you can learn is how to just let go and be pure awareness. But this is not something that most people ever learn, although it is the quickest way to experience peace. Because if you can let go of the ego and the thoughts and all the stories that we have and just be here now fully, this pure awareness is like a portal
Mhm.
that opens up to infinite peace and love. So what I like to do is teach people methods that help them to experience that rather quickly. It used to be you had to meditate for 30 years to experience it. But what I find now is that with the right method, people are able to experience it much more easily and much more quickly, and therefore tap into that peace. And that's pretty exciting.
Do you think that I was reading your work earlier today, and I was wondering if it's new modalities or if it's also some sort of a shift in consciousness that's making it easier to access now?
I think it's both. I think the methods, the technology has gotten better.
Mhm.
And I think that the vibration of the planet has increased. Because, I used to do these talks to corporate America 20 years ago, where I tried to get people into the state of pure awareness.
Yeah.
And it would take like an hour. Now it takes an average of about 3 minutes. So that's pretty exciting. But a lot of people don't know these updated methods. The only methods they know are from 2,000 years ago that the Buddha taught or Jesus taught. But we don't even have iPhones from 10 years ago. If somebody has the first iPhone, you go, well, "What are you, an idiot?" There's better ones out there. But we're using meditation methods that were invented 2,000 years ago. I've seen that there's now much better methods that work more quickly and can give you an experience of peace much more profoundly than, say, Vipassana meditation.
So we're going to dive into a more extended meditation at the end, but is this a good point to do a 1 minute meditation to experience a
Sure,
bit of this?
sure. This method is called the include method.
Mhm.
Uh, People can do it with eyes open or closed. And
If they're driving, they should do it later?
yeah, although you actually could do this driving if you're not in a situation where there's a lot of cars you're having to contend with. That's what I like about it. You can kind of do it even with eyes open in your day, but make sure that you don't do it in a way that would be dangerous. So first thing all you really have to do is listen to my voice, and I'll guide you in a certain way. It'll just take a minute. First, become aware of the sounds that you hear. Just be aware that you're hearing sounds coming out of a field of emptiness, and they just arise out of this field of emptiness, my voice or other sounds. And then become aware of the sensations you feel as well. Include that as well. The sensations of your chair or wherever you're sitting. So you have sensations and sounds. If your eyes are open or closed, there's still light coming in. Include the fact that there's sensations, there's sounds, there's light. And then become aware of thoughts going through your head. So there's sounds, there's sensations, there's light, there's thoughts, and maybe emotions going through you. All this is happening simultaneously. And then become aware that you are aware of all these things happening. There's something watching. There's a silent witness that is taking in all these impressions. That part of you I call pure awareness. That part of you is always just here now, completely here now, peaceful, watching, present. There's no future, there's just now. And it doesn't try to resist anything, it just takes in all these impressions, fully open, fully surrendered to all that's coming in this moment. And see if you can relax with all that. Just allow it to all be exactly as it is, moment after moment, relaxing with all the sense impressions coming in. And when you're ready, take as much time as you want. You can slowly open your eyes if your eyes were closed and come back to your day-to-day consciousness. How'd that feel for you, Michael?
I'm going, how do I run a show now? But it feels good. And my voice has dropped about 2 octaves.
Yes, yes. You
So,
know, that's a very simple way of just relaxing into what is.
mhm.
And at our core, before we became an ego and personality, where we were just a baby taking in impressions. And when we relax back to that simple way of being, we can tap into our heart and peace and a certain calmness that normally isn't there because we're all so busy doing stuff.
Would you use the term happiness as well with pure awareness?
Yeah, you know, one of the when you get down to pure awareness, on the surface of that ocean, it feels peaceful.
Mhm,
But as you sink deeper into the ocean of pure awareness, it comes with certain perks. You start to feel love,
mhm.
you start to feel connected to everything, and you start to feel a certain amount of joy or bliss or happiness. It's good news that uh, our actual nature is one of happiness. Now, the Buddha said, do not try to find happiness outside of you because happiness is within you. You know, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within, but we live in a culture or a culture that says happiness is outside of you
Mm.
and you can buy it for this amount of money. Well, that keeps us very busy because it doesn't work very well. We're all so busy trying to manipulate things to be the way we want so we can be happy. And at best, that happiness lasts just a short period of time. So, what I try and do is get better and better technologies to tap into that happiness within.
Beautiful. I'm not even sure where I want to go with it, but I've spoken to some experts, not that many, but some who say we're looking for an equanimity that has no happiness. And I've never fully understood that one, that it is just a complete neutral state. Because when I dive down deep, there's a joy that I tap into. And I come back with like this googly, giggly laugh.
Yeah, yeah, me too. You know, I think that's a misinterpretation of the word emptiness. In Buddhism, they have, excuse me, that you tap into an emptiness. And people think, well, that's devoid of feelings or devoid of any joy. But all the people I know who actually do this and do it frequently and get down into it really well, they say it's like the greatest happiness they've ever experienced.
So is that what you call, when we're diving into there, is that what you call awakened awareness?
Yeah, that is what I call awakened awareness. Now we're already aware. Like if I said to you, Michael, try not to be aware right now.
Oh, that's like not thinking of the black cat.
Yeah. Well, you can't do it. It's always in the background. It allows our experience. So you can't not be aware. The problem is that we're not aware of our awareness. We're like out here in the world and we're not back here noticing our awareness. People don't even know how to do that. So it's important to train people how to do that because we've been very much trained on how to, be a person and have a brand and be a personality and be an individual. And that's great. That's a nice ability to have. But this other thing is also nice because that's where you find true happiness.
So, and we're going to dive more into the culture today and retraining. Are there some attitudes? You write about 6 attitudes. Are there a few key attitudes that we want to have as we dive into an awakened awareness?
Yeah, there's certain attitudes that really help you to let go of stress and relax into the peace of right now.
Mhm. Can you share with us a few of those?
Maybe. Okay, I'll do it. You've been nice. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Well, one of them is that uh, our entire life takes place in the present moment.
Mhm.
We never have lived a single second of our entire life outside of the present moment.
Mhm.
We're always thinking of the past and the future, but when there is no future, because when we're in the future, it will be the present moment.
Yeah.
But in a certain way, we're always sacrificing the present moment for the future. Like, oh, I got to get this done. I got to do the dishes. I'm driving not to be present driving. I'm driving to get to my destination.
Mhm.
Or I'm saying this not to enjoy this person. I'm saying this so that they'll do what I want. So then I'll be happy. And the attitude of um, appreciating the present moment is a real key. I like to say, allow everything in the present moment to be exactly as it is, even my dislike of it.
I like it.
So there might be something going on that I don't like, but I'm allowing it to be as it is. A lot of people are always fighting or resisting the present moment,
Mhm.
and when you resist what is, you lose, except just 100% of the time.
When you
When you
resist what
fight with
is, you
reality,
lose just 100% of the time.
yeah,
Got it. So, along the lines of not resisting, you have another one, which is being totally innocent to this moment.
yeah. You know, that's really what babies do
Mhm.
and young kids. And it's one of the reasons we love them, you know, or dogs, they're very innocent to the present moment. The opposite of being innocent is thinking you always know what's going on, thinking you always know what's right and wrong, thinking it's got to be this way, thinking that God made a mistake for it to be this way. All that is a way of resisting reality and instead saying, well, I don't know what's best. And being like this moment is brand new. I mean, think of it, how amazing it is. We're on a rock traveling 70,000 miles through outer space around a big fireball in the middle of a huge galaxy, in the middle of an infinite universe. We're made up of trillions of vibrating atoms that somehow coalesce to create this experience where we take everything in. I mean, the world's fantastic. And if you're innocent to this moment, you tap into that. Whereas if you are like cynical or resistant, you miss all that magic.
I can't believe I'm going to quote this, but I was watching this weekend, what was it? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah,
And it had two nuclear missiles turned into like a rose plant or something, some plant. And the second nuclear missile turns into a sperm whale at like 80,000 feet falling to the earth. And its existence was only during the time of the fall, and then it was no longer exist. And so it's like, what is this? Oh, this is tail. Oh, what is this? I'll call this air. Oh, what is that giant thing below me? Oh, I'll call that rock. There was no judgment on the
yeah,
experience. It simply took it in this present moment, which is really all it had, falling to earth as a whale from 80,000 feet.
yeah. Unfortunately, our minds are judgment machines. They're a remnant of a survival mechanism from our evolutionary past, and they work really good in certain circumstances. But our minds often interfere with enjoying the present moment. They interfere with us being loving or loving other people. So we have to tap into deeper parts of ourselves, our awareness and our soul and our heart, in order to tap into these things that give life the real juice.
So, what does it mean? Another one of these things of coming from a place of love.
Yeah. Well, people talk about love a lot, and mostly in songs, it's how, your love saved me. But at our core, we are love and awareness. So the question I think that's better is how do we tap into that core?
Mhm.
Towards the end of the show, I'll give a guided meditation that helps to do that. But coming from love means I love and accept what's going on, even if I don't like it. Like I might have a person in my life that is annoying. Well, I can love them for how good they are at being annoying.
Mhm. And you can love, and this gets to another one, which tends to be another favorite of mine. These are like the top 6 favorites. But the
Yeah,
interconnectivity between us. I can love them even though they're annoying, knowing there is that.
yeah, yeah. Right. One of the things I like about awakening or to awareness is that you can get into this experience where you realize, as the religions all often say, that everything is one. Everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
Right now, the average person has 20 million atoms, I think. I think it's 20 million atoms that were in Jesus Christ in this moment.
Wow.
Every single person on earth. That's how interconnected we are. And he hasn't been around for a while. And you also have 20 million atoms of the person in China. So we're very interconnected, and our minds separate things, but awareness helps us to see that everything is actually connected and made of one energy.
Beautiful. So let's go from there. We've set a little bit of a stage. Maybe you can tell us. I went through the Dynamite Dozen awakening exercises. We
Uh-huh.
can go here with a few favorites. I can pick some out, or if you have some other 10-second tools for awakening, where should we start?
Well, let's give a couple of 10-second tools
Okay.
that can point people in the right direction. I have phrases I use
Okay.
that are really helpful. Well, here's one phrase I like. However it's going, root for it to go that way.
Well, then you're always on the winning team.
Well, always aligns you with reality. If you're aligned with reality, you can be pretty relaxed. If you're fighting reality, that's pretty hard.
Mhm.
So, however things are going, root for it to go that way. That will help you to feel a little bit more peaceful. Or here's one that I like. Let me try and get this. I have this interesting look of light on my face. Maybe that looks good. Okay.
Very, very nice. For people who can't see this, who are listening on audio, it's like he's got sun coming in through the slats of the window shade or something,
Yes, yes.
highlighting just his nose or just his cheek.
Now, if I can get it to highlight my third eye, that would make me look really good.
Ooh, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Anyway, so a, a couple of phrases I like to use besides that one is in this moment, uh, have no preferences.
Mhm.
It's our constant liking, disliking that takes us into problems. But if in this moment I just allow things to be as they are, that can feel peaceful. Or how about this? In this moment, imagine that there's no future, there's just now. Because we tend to take life as a story, like we're in the middle of a movie and we know how the story ends. But we're not in a movie. We're just take life actually comes to us one moment at a time. So in this moment, just imagine there is no future. There's just this moment. Well, that can be very relaxing. That can help you to feel some peace. So little phrases like this you can make up that are helpful for finding a little bit more awakening, a little bit more peace, a little bit more closer to the present moment, and allowing the innocence of this moment.
It's so odd when we talk about culture, how we've been indoctrinated to no longer live in the present moment. But really, that's the only game that's guaranteed.
Yeah, yeah. Being a hypnotist, I know that I can literally talk to some people and get them to think that they're Donald Trump or Mick Jagger and really think that they are that person. That's how suggestible we are to conditioning. Like, Michael, I bet you think that you're Michael.
Sometimes, on my better days, I guess.
Well, that's one level of us,
Mhm.
but on another level, we are just awareness. In this moment, there's no Michaelness here. There's just a being that is aware of this moment,
Mhm.
and there's a soul listening to this. So you can identify with different layers of yourself. But most people only identify with their problems, with their personality, and therefore they miss out on a lot of peace.
So we're going to dive into some more exercises for peace. Before we do that, you talk about some non-awakening practices that can help us with awakening. What are places? How can that help us with awakening?
Well, obviously some places are more conducive. Like if you have an incredibly busy life with all kinds of noise and things going on, it's harder to feel peace.
Mhm.
But there are places on earth that actually have vibrations that help us to awaken. Now, for one thing, a really nice cathedral might be that kind of place. And not only does the cathedral have those vibrations, but everybody going there would often go there to have peace. So they're bringing their vibrations. But, there's places like, say, Sedona, Arizona, that has these energy vortexes. Or one time I went to the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem,
Oh, wow.
which is one of the three holy places, one of the most holy places for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Mhm.
I wondered, why is this one place, this one rock, the key holy place? Well, if you go to the Dome of the Rock, it's hard to get to nowadays. Um, it has the most intense vibrations of any place on earth. Literally, I felt like I was on a drug trip. I was in a state of bliss. I don't know what's going on there, but there's something happening where the earth sometimes emanates weird vibrations in different places. And, forests are better than downtowns of cities if you want to feel peace. So being able to move your life to places where you find those places in nature or buildings or whatever that help you to feel peace can be a really nice thing to do.
I'm extremely lucky. I'm looking at what goes out, turn BLM into national forest right outside my backyard in the mountains of Colorado. And we brought ourselves here. We're fortunate to have that ability to do that so that we could resonate more with the earth where we're at.
Yeah, yeah, it really can help. I mean, I live in nature pretty much as well. And when I go into cities, I go through culture shock because it's so loud and everybody's moving so fast that sometimes you can forget what's really important.
So this next one, I'm surprised I'm going to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway. Supplements.
Uh huh. Well, there's a lot of good stuff out there now that is safe for you to eat or drink.
Mhm.
I mean, take something as simple at my local grocery store now. They now have cold pressed juices. It's like 10 bags of broccoli and kale and spinach all in one bottle. And you drink that, you're going to feel pretty good for a while.
This is
You
true.
know, and there's also various supplements. I have a book called Technology of Joy that goes into all these different supplements that you can get that are good for you that are called nootropics, and they make you smarter, they make you feel good, and that's possible to take. So, as life has gone more complex, it's important to make use of these really good products that can help you deal with that amount of stress. And there's one I like called Qualia that's very good. But there's a bunch of stuff out there. If people are interested, they can read about it in the Technology of Joy book.
Fantastic. And since we're talking about technology of joy here, gadgets to help us with awakening.
Yeah. Well, the simplest gadget, of course, is this. You can now download all these apps
Mhm.
that will guide you on meditation, like Headspace or Calm or all these different ones, or Insight Timer is a good one. Um, and they cost little or no money. I have various gadgets in my house. Let me just up one is right here. I'll
A-
get it.
Absolutely. Love the show and tell.
This is a gadget.
Oh my God, what is that? This looks almost like a
It
laser gun.
it almost is. It actually induces. It vibrates in a way that gives people an experience of bliss, and
What is it? What is it called? How does this thing work?
it's called the Beamer.
Yeah.
And if you point it, when I meditate, I do this, and people feel it pretty much right away. It's not cheap. This thing costs like $2,000, uh, but it's filled with special magnets and special gases and things like that that vibrate in an interesting way, and they work. So I have a lot of these gadgets. I mean, you can get like little massage chairs or gadgets for your back that make you feel good. But some of the best gadgets are ones that affect your mind, because often when our mind is busy, we have no peace.
I've been using a gadget. I gave myself a 30-day challenge. I'm on like day 50 right now with from Heart Math, their inner balance or M wave device of
Yeah.
getting myself into heart coherence.
Yeah, I have that gadget. It's a nice one. You hook it up to your smartphone and your ear. And I write about all those in the Technology of Joy book. And I do a review of my 101 favorite gadgets in that book.
All right, give us one more, and then we're gonna dive into the dynamite dozen. What's one more gadget that we need to know about?
um, I'll give you one that is surprisingly easy. I'm getting it right now. And you can buy these on Amazon for $1.
Yeah.
This looks like a kind of a ring.
Yes, it
You
does.
see that?
Almost a sharp ring.
Yeah, and it's called an acupressure ring. And
That'd
you
be why
put
it's
up
sharp.
and down your fingers,
Yeah.
and it stimulates acupuncture points. And that by the stimulating of your acupuncture points, it helps you to feel really good. It like increases endorphin levels. And what I like about them is they're about $1 each. And people usually scoff at it, and then they try it and they go, "Hey, that actually works." So you can get those on Amazon under acupressure ring.
I'll put it in the shopping cart. So from there, dynamite dozen. First off, let's talk about direct awakening mantras.
Well, there's one of them that I like is simply, I use the one, there's only this moment.
Mhm.
There's only this moment. And you can just say it to yourself. There's only this moment.
There's only this moment.
Or allow this moment to be exactly as it is. These things are little pointers to truth that help you to relax and let go. Or how about this one? Can I let go and relax into my heart?
Mm.
Can I let go right now and relax into my heart? So I've come up with a bunch of phrases that can help people to let go, to feel better.
Mhm.
Um, and the key is that you find a phrase that works for you. You know, I have a bunch of these phrases in a product I have called Shortcuts to Awakening,
Yeah.
where I used special brainwave patterns and phrases and hypnotic inductions to get people into a place of very deep peace. Now, a lot of people say that just by listening to this for 15 minutes, they feel more peace than they've ever felt in their entire life. That's because I'm using like the best guided meditation, the best brainwave sounds to really get people to this place. And once you've found that place, it's easier to get there the next time. So the key is to try a bunch of stuff, see what works for you, and then use that, because then you have a friend for life.
Beautiful. So another one that could help us get there. What can you tell us about where am I?
Uh-huh. Well, this goes back to there used to be a question called "Who am I?" Which I don't like as much as "What am I?" Like what if you look within, what are you? What makes you you? And as you focus on that, you realize that at your core, you are this thing that registers sound, sight, sensations.
Mhm.
There is no little Michael in your brain moving conveyors around. There's really just an awareness there. And as you focus on what is awareness, that's an interesting thing that you can do with somebody. What
Yeah.
is awareness? Well, awareness is this open spaciousness
Mhm.
that contains all my experience. As you describe it to yourself, you start to enter into it, and you start to feel the peace and the joy of it. So think of what am I as a mantra that forces you to go back into what is this thing that allows me to register all this? What is this thing that is the background of all my experience?
Thank you. Is there a mantra or an exercise or something that you like to do on a regular basis to bring you back?
I find that I use different things, and the key is to find a bunch of stuff that works for you. You know, I had this podcast called Awareness Explorers, and it's available on iTunes and etc. And on the podcast, each week we explore different methods. Now, I find that what works for one person does not work for another person.
Mhm.
So the key is that you try a bunch of stuff and you see, excuse me, what works for you. So I have my top 10, and we'll do a couple of them at the end of this broadcast.
Mhm.
I like that include method we did earlier, where I'm just like allowing all these things in. Um, and if you listen to the Awareness Explorers podcast, you get all these different methods that take like 2 minutes or less. And you say, wait, that one really worked for me. I'm going to do that one. Now, one of my favorite ones is simply to just say in a word or two what my current experience is. That's adding awareness. Like it's basic mindfulness. Like I might say, thinking, hearing, worrying, feeling my legs on the chair, uh, wondering what you're thinking about me, feeling some expanding heart right now. Just labeling stuff
Mhm.
that will bring you into the present moment really quickly. And if you're off worrying about stuff, that will tend to fade as you just like get really present with your body and what's going on.
So if somebody's experiencing a powerful emotion, powerful worrying,
Yeah.
powerful anxiety, where do they go?
I would suggest that they start with the sensations in their body. Like they might say, okay, what does my butt feel like now on the chair? What does my right hand feel like? Where in my body do I feel tightness? How large of an area is that tightness? Does it is the tightness throbbing or constant? What does my right foot feel like? As you follow moment to moment sensations in your body,
Mhm.
your mind will start to let go of the worry and you'll just become more and more present. That's why sometimes people suggest focusing on your breath.
Beautiful. It's something kind of tangential, but it seems important, particularly as listeners are taking in all these shows, trying to quote improve or fix ourselves. There's nothing to fix. We're okay just as we are, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Every person who's alive has a soul and has awareness. The key then becomes can you relax into that, into the present moment of your soul or your heart or your awareness? Because all those problems, they're more like a mental story you're in.
Mhm.
Right now, you're probably okay unless you're in physical pain. So you just learn to relax into that nowness. And like an ocean, the deeper you go into it, the more joy you experience. And all the problems and things like that, they start to get very much in the background. They're not, you still have to do stuff, but they're not screaming at you. And being that you're born and that you're here, you won the lottery. You got the heart and the awareness, and that will be with you for the rest of your life.
Woohoo! So, heart, awareness, being born here, what does it all have to do with baby aliens?
I'm not sure what it all has to do with baby aliens. I think you might be referring to one time me and a bunch of people were out in the desert meditating, and each of us saw 5 balls of light surround us, and they started to make noises. We had a spiritual master with us, and he said that is what people have traditionally called angels.
Mhm.
They're like balls of light, and they emanated this incredible amount of joy, and they wanted to just hang out with us because we were meditating in the desert. They thought we would be fun to play with, and it's a magical universe. There's all kinds of stuff going on that you can tune into once you quiet your mind and start to open your heart.
Excellent. Is there another dynamite dozen or other awakening exercise? Before we go, we'll go into those few things, but right before the end. But another awakening exercise you'd recommend for people?
Well, when you a lot of times we get caught up in our heads, and most good things happen in our heart when we calm our head and we are more open hearted. So I often tell people what helps to open your heart the most. And for a lot of people, it's actually not their what husband or wife, it's their pets. I
Oh
know for
yeah.
me, it's my dogs. So I'm embarrassed to admit this, but every day I take 5 minutes in the morning and I pet each of my dogs and I tell them how much I love them and I kiss them on the nose and I just allow myself to open up to how much I love them. And young kids are good for that as well.
That's the most beautiful thing in the world. And we've got our three kitty cats here, and it's the ultimate therapy of being present with them for that time period can make you feel, and we've done it with the inner balance and Amway from Heart Math. Watch our heart coherence and actually seeing the number go up when you cuddle an innocent creature or
Yeah,
even
yeah.
imagine in your mind's eye you just lit up. Who are your two dogs?
Bailey and Sophie,
And what kind of dogs are they?
they're both golden retrievers.
See, and if I could measure you, hook you up to something right now, you've just gone through the roof.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. At finding whatever that ritual is for you and doing it every day. It might be what you're grateful for, or it might be imagining your young child, or imagining your pet. But having that ritual where you go from your head to your heart and just dive in and allow that to open. That's
Beautiful.
a wonderful practice.
What is, and I'll pull out my mascot turtle here. What is slowing?
Slowing, a lot of times I'll practice it right now. Slowing is slowing down your movements
Hmm.
or even your voice. Like right now, I'm speaking about 20% slower.
Yes.
And as you slow your physical movements or your voice, you get to a place where time expands and you feel more at peace. So as I go about cleaning my office, I might really slow down 20% and be with each of my physical movements. And at the end of that, I feel more present, I feel more calm, and I feel more relaxed.
Beautiful. What does it mean to think about not thinking?
Uh-huh. Well, that's one of the podcast episodes, awarenessexplorers.com. And what we do in that podcast is we explore these topics in depth because we're always exploring, the political situation in depth or our problems in depth, but we don't necessarily explore the most important things of how to not think so much or how to open our hearts
Mm.
and literally how to do it, not just is it a good idea, but really the mechanics of it. So one of the podcasts is thinking about not thinking. How do we slow our mind down? And we go into several methods for doing that, not just meditation where you separate yourself from the world, but what you can do in life that helps you to slow your mind down. And I think that's the most important stuff in the world because that's the key to more joy and more connection and more love.
Is there one tip you could give us now? Because if we're listening to this, our minds are probably going, cranking pretty good right now.
Yeah. Well, that one tip that we just talked about, where you literally focus on a person or animal or young child you have great affection for, and really thinking about a specific time you felt really connected to them and feeling them in your heart, and then feeling grateful for them that they are in your life. That's a way to get the energy from your head down to your heart And from there, your thinking will definitely have a lot less energy or be a lot more slowed down.
Beautiful. What advice? Jessica always wants me to ask a question for parents and their kids. What
Yeah.
advice would you give parents to help their kids today?
Studies show that the best thing you can do for your kids
Mhm.
is to be a happy, peaceful person yourself. So whatever you can do to do that, that's going to affect your kids because kids learn by watching the adults. So, saving for college, that might be a good thing, but that doesn't lead to happier kids. What leads to happier, more successful kids in life is having parents who are happy and peaceful and loving.
Woohoo! On that note, what personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I would call the woohoo factor?
Since you said person, I won't mention Sophie or Bailey, my dogs.
Well, I was
But I
saying
would say,
personally, it can be the dogs.
I'll do a shout out to my wife. We've been married 20 years, and we have a really good time together. We are always laughing and exploring, and that always feels good.
Awesome. On that note, where can people go to find out more about your podcast and everything else that you have to offer?
Well, the Awareness Explorers podcast is on iTunes and Google Play, or they can download it for free at awarenessexplorers.com. We have a bunch of them. Sometimes interviewing spiritual teachers are famous as well. And they can learn a lot of stuff from listening to the podcast. I also have a, a page called Shortcuts to Awakening,
Mhm.
in which I have a product that people can buy and listen to that can save them years of meditating to get them into a place of pure awareness. So that's at shortcutstoawakening.com. And for your listeners, they can get 15% off uh, that that product by typing in all caps shortcuts, and they get a 15% discount. And just reading about my philosophy of how to really get to this place of deep peace and love on that page can be useful. So that's a good place to begin. And the thing I always tell people is, carve out some time to keep exploring, because once you find a product or meditation
Mhm.
or an idea that works for you, that's always with you. It never goes anywhere. And it makes your life better. And so I always say, keep exploring.
Before we dive into one or two tools here, is there a homework assignment you would give people today to start their own exploration?
I would say create a amount of time each day,
Mhm.
even if it's just 5 minutes, that they are going to explore new methods of meditation or awakening or gain into their heart. Now, I started doing that when I was 14. I said, I'm going to spend an hour a day until I feel peace and joy almost all the time. I've done
Wow.
that for the last 40 years. An hour a day, I do that. And I usually meditate or read or do different awakening practices, but decide like no matter what, at least 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day. And then you have that time to keep learning.
Would you find if people don't have 5 or 10 minutes today to carve out for joy, then they need to double that time?
Exactly, exactly.
Very good. Any last words of wisdom before we dive into an exercise or two?
um, you know, Learning from experts is good. Making it easy, whether it's going to shortcutstoawakening.com or awarenessexplorer.com. Um, my learning from experts saved me decades of time trying to reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
So it need not be my stuff. There's a lot of great experts on YouTube and everywhere that you can learn from, and see what they have to say and try out their stuff, see what works for you.
Awesome. All right. I'll fasten my seatbelt. If you're driving down the road, you probably want to do this later. Do you want to take us through one or two cool exercises here?
Sure thing. Um, so these exercises are definitely best done with the eyes closed.
Hmm.
The first exercise is imagine that you have a big eraser in your hand. And as you take a deep breath and relax and have your eyes closed. Imagine with this eraser, you start erasing your feet and then your lower legs. Now you're imagining erasing your upper legs and your pelvis and your stomach and your chest. And as you erase these things, either they disappear or maybe you feel some tingling. It doesn't really matter. Now erase one arm, erase your shoulders, and you might feel that you now are in your head, which is where a lot of times it feels like we're living. So I want you to imagine erasing your neck, your jaw, and even moving up your head until you completely erase your head. And then last, erase the hand and arm that had the eraser. And the question is, what's left? Well, what's left is your awareness. You still hear my voice. You're still aware of what's going on. That background awareness is always here. In fact, see if you can get rid of that awareness. Probably not. It's always there. And as you focus on that and realize that you, at your core, are awareness, you'll start to feel more peaceful. And you'll start to feel more relaxed. And one more exercise for you to do while you're in this state is imagine a whiteboard in front of you with the words I am. And complete that sentence. I am like a man or a woman, or I am whatever your career is. And then when you have that imagined it before you, imagine deleting the words after I am and realizing that at your core, you just are an I am, you just are an awareness. And feel that. Now think of something else that you identify with, like I am good at something, maybe a sport or maybe a talent that you have. And what it feels like to feel that part of you that's good at something. And then erase the words after I am and go back to just in this moment, I am, I exist, I am an awareness. And allow that awareness to feel spacious. That in some ways you're connected to the entire universe. Your atoms are vibrating, not just in your body, but they merge with the surrounding area. And that you are this space in which all things arise. You are this space in which you hear sounds and feel sensations. You are this spacious awareness that is always in the background, always at peace, and always just in this moment. And if you have a bunch of thoughts, see if you can even erase those thoughts or put them way in the background so you can just be feeling the sensations of this moment, feeling your breath, hearing my voice, hearing other sounds, and relaxing into the peace of beingness, awareness, and even your heart. As your heart and the feeling of love that you have for a special person or pet in your life starts to help your heart to feel spacious and open. And enjoy that experience. And when you're ready, take as much time as you want. You come back to your room, keeping that peace, and slowly begin to open your eyes. Michael, you look like you were going to float away there. I almost didn't want to bring you back.
I'm having trouble coming back.
So that's like 4 minutes. And, little breaks like that throughout our day can make a difference between being stressed out and being blissed out.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Jonathan. This has been so much fun. I'm completely blissed out. The energy is great. It's strong. It's just
Ah.
Thank you so much. This is brilliant. I want everybody to check out your work. And if everybody dives into just one or two of these brilliant exercises today, if you take just a little time and invest in yourself each day, you begin diving into this. You've been cultivating this, which is already there. It's already waiting for you in each moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, got
My
to
pleasure, Michael.
crank it up for the finish. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, check out Awareness Explorers, and begin diving into awareness today and shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Jonathan.
That was fun. The time went quickly. We did that for over an hour.
We did. That time flew by. It's amazing how many 10-second tips you can cover in an hour.
I have a lot of them.
You do, and I love the stuff you're geeking out, and I want to check out more of the tech stuff as well. I mean, while I don't actually have an active smartphone, I use every tool under the sun available to me. So, I've got my watch on here, which has heart rate variability on it, and I'm always excited to learn more.
Yeah. You might try out Qualia at neurohacker.com. They have good stuff. I'll send you a link.
Okay, appreciate it.
And there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I try to keep track of it just for my own use and then put it in my books. But it's an exciting time to be alive.
It is. It certainly is. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!